it is available to play.
I don't know why he doesn't want to hang out with us. I don't get it.
I have a lot of video games to play. I'm playing a lot of video games already.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be playing more video games because I'm a gamer. God damn it.
We're anything but. I can't believe we're here on the 15th of February. The last time we recorded one of these was, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago now? 3 weeks?
It's been a bit. Yeah.
It's been a bit.
Yeah.
We took a small break.
Quiet.
Now, Bobby, you appear to be talking to us from some like LED void. What's going on over there?
Nothing good.
In the dark place?
I've been in the dark place since 2016. We made an announcement. Like Sarah and I, we're hoping to move. We needed to get our current home ready for it, and we had to take apart my office studio to get some repairs and updates done. And we're kind of in this in between where we don't want to put our house back together because we're packed up in some degree. So you're going to get a degraded experience on my end, probably from some audio and all that shit. And we're going to make the best of it. There'll probably be another period where we have to take, like, maybe we'll miss an episode when I'm moving or something like that, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, we've been
that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, we've been getting stuff ready here, and trying to get everything that we could ready to go on our end. But we're here to talk about games, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got 3 weeks of what you've been playing to get caught up on here. We have a February release to get caught up on here. We're going to fit everything in tonight that we've been missing, right? That's the plan. That's what we're going to be doing.
Sure.
Whatever you say, boss.
I can do it.
I know. You'll turn a tight 5 into a tight 15.
We're talking about 3 games instead of 2 games.
Yes, that old chestnut. I'm turning off rewards because those would be obnoxious for this version of our show. Yeah. But
save the rewards for Mondays and Fridays. Come back on Mondays and Fridays if you like rewards, and you can get them all then.
So it's February 15th. This is episode 362. So what you've been playing. We're going to tell you a little bit about Helldivers 2, Like a Dragon, Granblue Fantasy, PAL World, Persona 3. But we got some pretty big new stuff. Today was a big event that I don't know if it was big. It was an event.
It was made out to be big.
Yeah.
No, sorry. It was built up to be big by everyone who wasn't Microsoft.
Yes.
And then it was exactly what it was supposed to be, which was nothing.
Nothing. Much ado about nothing. So we're going to talk about that Xbox podcast. We've got some sad news from Embracer. We're going to talk a little bit about From Software and then Sony. So we've got a lot to do tonight. We're going to get right into it. Looking at the lineup here, Johnny, I would love to know what you've been playing.
Oh, I've been playing a lot of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Okay.
And I think, let me check my hour count here. I am at about 18 hours.
Oh, that's nothing. My work friend has platinumed that game already.
Okay, well, we're not talking about
he will not stop talking to me about it.
Well, he has every right to not stop talking about it because this game is incredible.
Seems like a great game.
So
seems good.
This is the latest game in the long-running, what used to be called the Yakuza series. This is Yakuza 8, if you're still referring to it as that. This is the second game that features Ichiban Kasuga, the new protagonist introduced in Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yes.
Where
they officially kind of like made the switch.
Yes. And it is also set in Hawaii for a large chunk of the game.
This is the first United States setting, right? In one of these?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe the little mini game that came out where you played as Kiryu, the man who erased his name, I think that might have been set in Hawaii because Kiryu is also in your party in this game. You can see him on the cover. And
this is kind of like where they meet. I guess he shows up in the first game, like at the end.
Yeah.
Well, not the first game. Of course, he shows up in the first game.
In the end of the first game featuring Ichi.
Shows up.
Yes. Yeah. And he's this legendary figure, and when you bump into him, he is pretending to be somebody else because he's the man who erased his name.
Yes.
But you join forces with him, and I think the thing that I love the most about this game so far is how it just wholly embraces the fact that it is a video game and it can do video game ass shit while also still telling a compelling, thoughtful, and like frankly like heartwarming story at times. Like it's very silly, it's over the top, but the characters are so well developed and realized, and they feel earnest in a way that doesn't feel cynical. Um, and I am so invested in what's going on and the journey that Itchy is on in the second game.
So
And
this is like another RPG one. This is another
yeah,
turn-based RPG.
It's a direct
and
sequel, correct?
it is, yes. And the reason
not
for
the
that,
brawlers of the other ones.
no, and there's a canonical reason for that, and that was because Ichiban loves old school RPGs. He's a huge Dragon Quest fan, and so he thinks of what he's doing as like he's the hero and he's fighting monsters. And so that is why when you go into enemy encounters, these street thugs or whatever, like some of them are just called like assholes. Or
I saw him knock an asshole out of a tree.
Yeah, you can, because you can knock coconuts down out of, coconut
Johnny,
trees.
how
that was
much
very good.
Like a Dragon did you play?
Have you passed it?
10 hours?
Okay, so you've eclipsed
Yeah,
it.
I've played more of this than I did of that game, and that was one that like I put down with every intention of getting back to it, and I just didn't.
Yeah, I was the same. I think I put somewhere between 8 and 10. How much of that story? I mean, I know it's a direct sequel. Does your party from the first game show up?
Yeah. So you have the security guy and the homeless guy. They're with you in the beginning, and you're doing stuff in Tokyo, and then through the series of events that leads to Ichi going to Hawaii, he is there on his own, and then you get Kiryu, and then you get Tomizawa, who is another character you meet, who's a cab driver who tries to rob you. And
how many people can you have in your party at any given time?
Up to 4.
Okay.
4. I think I want to say there's 8 or 9 total party members in the game, because there are a bunch of weapons for jobs that I haven't unlocked, but everyone can do different jobs. So Ichi is a freelancer or a hero. Kiryu is a brawler. Tomizawa uses a wrench, and it has elemental damage that it does. So I have a wrench now that does ice damage.
Sure. Makes sense.
And he has a skill where he will charge up a car battery and then electrocute somebody with it. And it's all he just I just got one where he knocks somebody down, and then he takes a bucket full of soap and like a brush, like you'd use to clean a car, and he just scrubs it all over the person, and it does a fuck ton of damage.
I've heard that this game does a lot. It front loads the game in a typical JRPG fashion.
Yeah.
And I've heard that it takes quite a bit to get into the meat of this one.
So yes, there's a lot of cutscenes and dialogue heavy moments, but I never felt like I was waiting for a sec. I'm just like, oh, just let me get to the good bits. Like it was still,
because the story stuff is also the good bits.
Yeah. Like the writing and everything is good enough that I didn't feel frustrated that it was taking a long time to really ramp up. I just unlocked. Did you get the Sujimon stuff in the first game where it's like a Pokedex but for scumbags?
Yes, I did.
So that's back. And there's a Sujimon League.
You hear that, Nintendo? That's the second time somebody's stolen from you in the last 90 days.
This is the last thing that happened is I ran into that professor guy at the mall who takes you to this underground Sujimon League, and you get into a fight, and then he tells you how to capture other Sujimon and challenge people.
That's great.
And there is a league, and it's not, they don't call it an Elite Four, they call it something else. I meant to write it down, but there are 4 trainers that you can eventually fight to become the Sujimon champ. There's an Animal Crossing mini
I've
game
seen a lot on that one. Like,
I haven't unlocked that yet. One of my friends has put almost as much time into
oh,
that as he has
that's what I was going to say.
the
Is
real game.
the general consensus of that, and this is for you, Chase. This is your crack cocaine, so don't you dare smoke this.
Yeah,
Is that
I think I have to put this like to the side with the
Oh,
Minecraft and stuff. Like
I
that.
mean, I have seen multiple tweets of people who'll be like, here is my hour count before I got to this point, and here is my hour count after, and I have never left this area because I love it so much. It looks very dumb and good.
It's the best. It's this is gonna be, it's gonna be very high on my list this year.
Let me ask you a question on this. So, like, if you could maybe throw out just like a few little tidbits, because it is a direct continuation, but I think that there was some well thought out critical ideas that people had against the first entry into this. Like, obviously people really were kind of taken aback that they went to a turn-based game. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed anything from quality of life or improvements that they've added in here that you wanted to talk about on like what would make, and also the other follow-up to that is I know it's a direct sequel, so from a story standpoint, do you think that you need to play the first one, or could you hop into this?
No, they do a really good job of giving you like summary, or will call back to things that happened in the previous game and show a little, not cutscene, but almost like a vignette, so you get some context there. They do a good job.
Last time on Like a Dragon.
Kind of. Well, you'll meet somebody, or you'll be having a conversation with another character, and they'll be like, "Oh man, yeah, I remember when this happened," and they'll be relating it to things that are currently happening in the game. So I feel bad for not finishing that game, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything other than, obviously all the games that Kiryu is in, right? Like I don't have that history with that character.
Right. Yeah. If you like, you can either be missing the stuff with Ichiban, or you could be missing the stuff with Kiryu, and one of them has 1 game before, and the other one has like 12.
A bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus Judgment. You forgot about Judgment and Lost Judgment, which are also in the same universe.
It's true. I haven't played either of those. But yeah, I'm so in love with this game. It's
awesome.
It's one I'm definitely gonna keep playing. I am still chipping away at Baldur's Gate 3. Put a few hours into that this week. So yeah, got these 2 big old RPGs.
You're probably
balancing.
I would imagine you're getting close on Baldur's Gate.
I just found Minsk. I have to go chase him down.
Okay. Yeah. That's the fun part for sure.
I'm kind of enjoying my approach to that. Like,
Boo, the hamster.
Now that the initial Zeitgeist is over, like, it's just a nice thing to go and be in that world a few hours every week. And take it in. So yeah, that's Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And the other thing that I've been playing a lot of is a game that you and I have been playing a lot of together, Bobby.
For Democracy.
Helldivers 2. Managed Democracy. So Chase plays Destiny, but that's not a real shooter.
I have not played Destiny in months.
He's living clean, you dirty scoundrel.
Apparently they're making huge changes to Destiny, and I'm going, I don't know what those are. Sorry.
Oh,
couldn't be me.
You're finally free. Do we give you your 2-month chip yet?
It's weird. You know what? I could use a chip.
Chips are good.
So Bobby, I don't know about you, but in terms of like games that make me feel like I am on an actual battlefield, I'm not sure anything can quite compare to the experience of playing Helldivers 2.
Yeah, I think that there's an unpredictability to what happens. I mean, you can land and kind of be looking for action, or sometimes you're going to land like we do most of the times, and it's like Normandy, but with robots and lasers and bugs. But yeah, I think
a good clip I saw shared on Twitter that was like, the question I hear everybody ask is, have you gotten to Space Vietnam yet?
Yeah.
And they play like the credence in the background
Mhm.
while while they're just on this kind of jungly planet with a bunch of bugs. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I see it.
It's
Seems like a very fun game.
It's so good. There's been this trend in multiplayer games, and we've talked a lot about this offline. I was hoping we could bring it to this conversation tonight. I don't quite know how I would define it. Maybe one of you who are much better with words than I am could help out here. But I think the most recent one I would call out is like a Lethal Company with this, where the game by itself is not comical, but there's something about just the human element that you bring into this, that the most zany fucking Acme fucking bullshit happens.
Ragdolls. Yes.
Yeah, like
it's all like dying is fun and usually very funny is a little note I have.
Oh
here.
yeah, like it's insane how well they pull that off.
Yeah, and also most modern shooters make you feel like some kind of god, right? Like you're just this murder machine. And there are some hardcore shooters like your Tarkovs, your Armas, like your more simmy games that there is more of an element of danger there. But this has that while also maintaining more of a casual feel, I guess. And the danger is real, both from enemies and your teammates, because you're getting killed by enemies maybe as frequently as you're getting killed by people on your team, either shooting you or calling in a napalm strike or something, and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And
I typically hate friendly fire, but I welcome it in Helldivers too.
Oh, it adds to the excitement, right? Like you have to figure out, okay, well, I shouldn't stand right here because if I do, I'm going to get clipped. Even your stratagems, your items that you bring in, like if you bring in a remote sentry, it can't tell the difference between you and a robot or a bug. And if you stand in the way when it sees a bug or a robot, it is going to mow you down.
Oh my God, Johnny.
With a bug or a robot.
I finally unlocked the drone. So one of the things you can get is a backpack chase that has a drone with a laser cannon. And the laser cannon is just a persistent beam that goes out. And so basically my squad, I was playing with randoms. They were off to the left and a horde was coming in. And I was looking off to the right, picking off a few that had been there already. So I was wrapping up what I was doing. And my backpack was kind of targeting wherever I was shooting. Well, my crew starts running and they're freaking out because there's giant bugs chasing them. The backpack turret just spins to start taking out the horde coming. And it just literally mows down my entire squad as it's like about facing towards the bugs. And so I turn and my turret's going crazy. I've killed my entire squad. And all of a sudden the bugs are just running at me. And I just turn around and start running. And then I just throw behind me the stratagem that is the reinforcement. And as the crew all got brought back from the mothership, they just smashed the bugs that were chasing me. And it was so good. But let's back up just a few feet here. This is Helldivers 2. This came out February 8th. This is a follow-up to the 2015-2016 Helldivers that was put out by PlayStation. And it is, I don't think it's at
PlayStation Vita.
For the PlayStation Vita. And I don't think I would
2015.
Okay, cool. I don't think I would quite say it is as drastic as a jump from a Risk of Rain to a Risk of Rain 2, but it's up there.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Very different. So I didn't play the first game.
I did play the original game on the Vita. It's a top-down thing. The experience is similar. You're coming down in drop pods. You're a squad-based thing. You're shooting a bunch of bugs. And I really didn't like it on the Vita. I didn't like the way the mechanics felt.
Because it's pretty twin sticky there, right?
It's very twin sticky.
Yeah.
And I think that made the friendly fire even more punishing.
Sure.
Because now you didn't even have that extra access to, okay, I'm sure you guys played this on Casual Fridays last week, right?
No, we haven't.
Okay,
We haven't
not on
streamed
Casual
this
Friday.
yet.
You guys played it, and I was watching you on
Yeah,
Discord.
we just streamed on our
You weren't
Discord.
streaming it out.
Yeah.
But like I even heard like one of you say like, "Hey, I'm shooting over you, so just stay crouched."
Yeah.
That's not something that you could do in the first.
No,
game.
I didn't even think about
You
that.
would
That's a
just,
great
like,
point.
mow people down accidentally. So
You're
I think
either
actually
beside him or
adding-
behind him, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. So like adding the extra dimension to this and making it more of an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter game, I feel like it probably assuages any of the issues that I had with the first game. That being said, I still kind of have that bit of that feel bad from playing the first game that made me not interested in playing this at all. And it's only after watching you guys play and seeing some clips and hearing people talk about it that it sounds kind of fun. But at the same time, like recovering Destiny addict over here, I'm not looking to get into another service game of any kind or quality. But it has been really cool watching you guys play it and see you guys react to what you're playing.
I think that this is, so for those of you who aren't too familiar with like some of our personalities here on the show, I have really grown very far away from enjoying PvP games. I used to enjoy them a lot more, but there is something to be said about a co-op PvE game that I will just lose myself to. And we've got a couple games that we rotate on our Monday streams and on our Friday streams. And one of those games that has been around probably the longest for Johnny and I is Deep Rock Galactic. And this is the game that I feel is kind of becoming that type of itch scratcher for me. And I have fallen in love with the loop of this game, the style of it, the zaniness of it. I think they've made some smart enhancements from what I've read about the first one to this one, where armor, for example, armor in the first game was purely cosmetic, which I think that's not a bad thing at all. Like, is there some really cool looking stuff you can do here? But they've added, I don't want to call them generic, but like you've got a light, medium, heavy armor. There's some trade-offs on each one of those, usually around just protection and speed. But some armor is going to give you a better throw distance, and some armor is going to give you a better accuracy when you go down prone. Those types of things can really kind of go into your play style, but you're really just upgrading your ship. And when you do that, you're upgrading cooldowns, you're upgrading the stratagems that you can carry, and there's up to 4 that you can slot, and then you can do a bonus token that is a benefit to your entire squad when you play. And these stratagems, they can be everything from an exclusive weapon that you have to a different type of orbital strike, or maybe like an eagle bomb dropping. There's also sentry turrets, so you can kind of play this more like an engineer. You could play it more as a heavy tank. You could play it as more of a rogue, not really rogue, I'm sorry, but more of like a stealth sniper type if you wanted to. There's some cool shit with it, but I think all in all, one of the things I'll call out for folks is I don't think this game is very fun by yourself because there's a lot that you have to do. So matchmaking is pretty critical. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to like talk to random people. I'm with you. This game, I don't know how it happens so well, but it has one of the best unspoken cooperative communities I've seen in a game. And it does have a smart ping to it, but there's like, I've not ran into people who aren't willing to share resources. I've not ran into people who aren't good at tagging things. I've not ran into anybody who will shoot you just to get your gear. I've only seen people that if they do kill you on accident, they swiftly respawn you. I've only seen people that will tag other resources for you to pick up, even if you just got brought into the game. It is I've played this game probably more with randoms at this point in time and had zero issues with any of that at all.
Earlier this evening by myself, and had a great time. In that last up, the newest up, there have been some issues, some technical issues with disconnects or even the quick play just not working at all. But there was a patch today that like I was able to quick play and connect first try, whereas yesterday it was like 5 times before it finally connected. And I have a couple of friends that have actually returned it because they were having such terrible time staying connected to matches.
Damn.
So there are some technical issues to work out. But both of them have said, I wish this wasn't happening because the game itself is so fun.
It's taken off. It is the most successful concurrent PC game put out by Sony. We'll be playing a lot more of it. I'm going to be streaming this tomorrow night. We're going to do a quick look of it here soon. So tune in to check that out. Johnny, that was Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for you. You also gave a quick update on Baldur's Gate, and we both have been playing Helldivers 2. I'll be brief here because I know we got a lot of news to get through and we still got Chase to hear from. So while we haven't been streaming here, I put a ton of time into Pal World. Last I checked, I'm at almost 78 hours on that game. I've got every Pal, which is awesome, and I have beaten basically all the bosses that they have in the game. There's even a Pal or two that in its early access state are not in your Pal decks, but you can only get by breeding 2 Pals, and I've gotten those as well.
You are a sick man.
And I love that game. I absolutely adore that game. I can't wait for more of that game. Hopefully there is more of that game. But a game that I was incredibly excited for and I am liking a whole hell of a lot, but it is just really close in proximity to finishing up Pal World, and that is Enshrouded. Very different when it comes to what you're doing in the game, but this is another survival craft build game, and I think it's one that they've done incredibly well. Enshrouded came out into early access on January 24th. It's made by Keen Games. It sets you back $29.99. This is more of a medieval game. It had a really
King
strong...
like Microsoft King?
Keen.
Oh, Keen.
Keen.
Gotcha.
This is a game that lets you start recruiting different personalities back to your base. So you're going to get a blacksmith, you're going to get an alchemist, you're going to get a hunter, and each one of those will give you new tools for your base, but also armor, and help you start to craft towards more of a class that you want to go with. It's a gorgeous game. It's got really great physics as far as building goes, and you can build into the world, you can build above the world. It has a really neat glider system, but there is this Enshrouded that you have to go into, and the best way I can kind of explain it is if you're familiar with the Dark Zone from The Division, where you have to be masked up, and when you're in it, there's obviously the virus that you're dealing with in the game. Enshrouded, when you first start the game, you can only be in it for 5 minutes. And there's deeper parts of Enshrouded that will speed that time up or just completely kill you right away. So you need to level your gear up and your character to be able to go deeper into the Enshrouded. But you can stop the spread of it and still cross and do some things. But you have a grappling hook, which is a ton of fun, and a glider, so they give you some abilities to move around the Enshrouded. But you're finding rare loot when you're in there. You're also finding blueprints. You're still getting material to bring back. It's very much in the same vein as a Valheim. I think that's probably the closest thing I can compare this to, but well more aware of what its mission is. It feels like it's got some good questing to it. You can pick up multiple things. You can build multiple fast travel locations. You're coming across overgrown places. It's very, very well done. I want to put a lot more time into it. Friend of the show, Jason, has played a shit ton of this game, and he's been nice about bringing a lot of stuff over my way. I will play a lot of it. I'm just enjoying some other stuff. One of those things I'm enjoying a lot more than I thought I would. I knew I would like it, but I'm having just so much fun with Persona 3 Reloaded. This came out
a week ago?
On February 1st. This is from Atlas. It's going to set you back $70. It's also on Game Pass, which is where I'm playing it on the PC. I've played a lot of this game in handheld, and it feels fantastic there. I really enjoy doing that. I don't know if this is quite the same as like when Pokemon games get remade in the same style as the current mainline entry. This kind of feels like it's taking some of the art style from Persona 5, but I don't quite know if that's just Persona 5 continuing the trend of Persona.
Yeah, like maybe when you say like art style, I think Persona has had a pretty consistent art style in that way.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like more like UI design and
Yeah.
some of that stuff, I can see that. Yeah.
So I don't know how many hours into it that I am. The area that you go to do your missions, like when you're going out and just like killing shit, the Tartarus. I've gotten to a point in the Tartarus where it's like you can't go any farther at this point in the story. And I've also got more of like the social link stuff opening up, but I'm finding the characters to be really well written. This game feels a little bit more mature than 5 did. I don't know why. I can't tell you exactly what's making me say that, but I just get a more darker and more serious tone.
Yeah, I think darker's a better way of putting it. Like
you're shooting yourself in the head.
That's true.
The more emo of the modern Persona games. Like one of the Persona games, I can't remember if it's Persona 1 or if it's one of the Persona 2s, which confusing. Pretty sure Hitler's just straight up in one of those games.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. So it's lighter than that, but 4 is definitely where things got more candy colored, and then 5 is still kind of more in that vein than something like 3. Like 3's a lot of people's favorite because it kind of straddles that line of it gets into the more modern style of what a Persona game is these days, while still having some of that edge that they appreciated. I only played Persona 3 Portable when it got a port to the PSP, and that version was. There's a whole thing about different versions of Persona 3. The original Persona 3 came out on PS2, and there was Persona 3 FES, which was like, okay, we added like some extra stuff. There's like a true ending on it now. Persona 3 Portable had a female character that it added, like a whole new campaign where you could play as this girl instead of the main guy. But it didn't have any of the Persona 3 FES stuff in it. It's a goddamn mess.
Yeah, there's been so many variations.
And then people thought this was going to be okay. Finally, we're getting like a definitive version of Persona 3, and they're like, no, we didn't have the FES stuff in here either. And like, what the fuck are you doing? Why didn't you do that?
It's the most early 2000s ass shit I've seen in a while. I mean, you wear a fucking MP3 player around your neck. I think I sent this to Johnny, but if you remember, I think it was a Volkswagen commercial or it was a Nissan commercial that had that EDM song Days Go By, and this is that girl dancing the whole time in the front seat of the car as it's driving around in circles. It basically is that. There's a few things I think that are really smart here, and again, I have not played Persona 5 since it came out, and I know Royal came out. I never played it, so correct me here if I'm wrong on something, but I want to talk a little bit about fight mechanics because that's a big part of this, obviously. So you're still doing the same thing where you're exploiting weaknesses and you're knocking things down if you don't kill them. And once everything's knocked down, you can do your all-out attack. Still fucking rules how you do it. Mm-hmm. There is something here that I don't remember being in 5, and I might just be an idiot. But if it's your turn, there is somebody who's kind of like, what was Futaba's role? Or that was her name, right? That she was kind of...
Techie one?
Oracle.
Yeah. So your Oracle type in Persona 3... you just press right shoulder and she'll scan and tell you if you have the persona that can exploit a weakness. It basically just pulls up the move that you need. So it's really quick. You hit that button and it's like, cool, I'll attack that. But what's awesome is if you have, so like if I do something and I get to go again, because that's how it all works. Like, hey, you get one more turn, and I don't have the ability to take out one of the other enemies, it will basically do a baton pass where it goes to the person who does have that. I don't remember 5 having that.
5 definitely had baton pass. Like I
it did?
Called it baton pass, where you could just swap to another. I don't think it automatically did it, but like it was, you could make the choice to baton pass to another character who would take the turn.
Okay, so this one, like if I hit that shoulder button and I don't have it, but the other character does, then if like Junpei has it, it'll just automatically go over them. They're like, hey, I'm ready. And then like you just press go to them and then do the attack. you can fly through battles in this. It's got an efficiency to it, which feels really good if you just want to go and grind some levels. But I like what's going on at the school. I like that it's like apathy that's attacking people. I think that's really smart how they're doing it. And also, just like their color palette and style is always great. This is obviously blue compared to red of Persona 5. But all the animations.
Yellow of Persona 4.
Yeah. It's really fucking good, y'all. Like, I mean, it feels like a Persona game.
Let me ask you this. Are you controlling all of the characters in your party during fights?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was something the original Persona 3 did not let you do.
So like, are you? Let me make sure I understand what you're asking. So if whenever I go, it goes to the next person on my team. I'm now looking at all their moves and I'm choosing what we do with them.
Correct. Yeah, that's not how the original game worked.
Yeah, this one you have full control.
Your main character, you got to do what you did.
Seems like a good change.
And then Junpei was going to do his own thing. Yukari was going to do their own thing. Hopefully, they would use the moves you wanted them to. I think it might have been Fest that added in the ability to directly control all your party members. I know Portable had that as like an option you could switch on. And then later Persona games just said
this one does let you do two things. So I can just press the start button and it basically fast forwards the fight and everybody kind of does like one standard type of move. If you just don't want to fuck with it, you can do that.
Yep.
There is also like an ability to like choose how you want them to play. And then you can choose that and then press start and they'll follow that guidance. So if you want them to do like big Persona moves, if you want them to be more defensive, they'll do that. There's also guard. I don't remember if that was in 3 or not, but if you know that you're going to get hit, you can hit guard and it will not knock you down. You'll still take damage, but you won't be knocked down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it seems cool. I bought it. I just haven't gotten around to playing it because I've been playing a game that I'm about to talk about. But 3 has always kind of been like a white whale for me, Persona wise, because I was getting okay at Persona 3 Portable, but it just wasn't the way I wanted to play that game. It didn't have you walking around a 3D space in the outside of Tartarus. In Tartarus, you were still like doing the dungeon crawling, but outside of that, it was more of like this top-down, more like an adventure game kind of thing where you would go from place to place and talk to people, but you wouldn't be walking to those areas. You would just be selecting, okay, I want to go to this place now, when it would just swap the whole thing for you. You'd just be, it was like a point and click thing at that point. So I would actually like to play this game kind of the way it was intended is maybe the wrong word, because it feels like they've made a pretty solid amount of changes to
I mean,
what the original game was. I've seen some people do like side-by-side screenshots to show like, oh, look at this club area that from the original game and look how different it looks here. And but I still want to give it a shot because it feels like a gap in my gaming history, and a lot of people really like Persona 3. So
there's something to be said about hearing Persona music again, seeing Persona relationships again, fusing
There's
personas.
Some really good characters too.
They really are, man.
I don't know if you've met all of them. There's a dog character that's quite good.
I haven't met the dog yet. I'm liking the bookstore couple right now quite a bit.
Okay.
They give you a persona that you can use in fight, but they're good.
There's a robot lady who's pretty sweet.
It's a really fucking good game. I kind of knew I was either going to check out Like a Dragon or Persona 3, and no offense to Like a Dragon because it sounds wonderful. I'm very happy to be playing Persona 3, and I'm having a really great time with it. So, yeah, that was Enshrouded, Helldivers 2, and Persona 3 Reloaded from me. And Chase, I am very excited to hear some of the things that you've been playing.
Yeah, first, it's not on my list, but I do just want to give a check-in of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. You remember that game that we all said we were going to play, right?
That we had until the end of March to play. That we have been playing.
We do, yeah. And
we have been playing it.
We're all making progress. I think the last time we talked about it on the show, I mentioned how the like how to unlock the new classes was a little difficult for me. Like I wasn't understanding what you had to do to unlock those things. I eventually just said, screw it, I'll look it up online and see, what the requirements for some of these things are. And it's I think it's really cool. Like you have to gain a specific amount of skills in different kinds of classes to unlock the higher classes, and sometimes you need to like go down a completely different tree to get skills in one class and then switch back to another class so you can get to the higher class from that. I've got an assassin character now who fucking rules. Like
Hell
they,
yeah.
if they, so there's one skill where you just don't get hit by arrows anymore. Like you block any arrow attacks. Great, awesome. So archers just can't touch you. But the assassin says, nah. What if instead any arrow that tries to hit you, you throw it back at that motherfucker? Like forget blocking arrows. What if you just send it right the fuck back?
It's Return to
Um,
Sender.
yeah, it's so good. It's so good. There's so many cool things. I still think that game gets a little bogged down in the laws system where they're just starting
Yeah.
to pile on the amounts of things that you can't do in a map. So it starts out, the game starts and you say, here's one thing you can't do in this map. Like maybe you can't use um, arrows. And so, okay, just I won't use my archer characters. I'll bring in a set of characters that don't use bows, and we'll get through it, and it'll be fine. But you're eventually getting to a point where I'm at in the game right now. I have three things that I can't do for every single fight. So it's you can't use arrows, but you also can't use this weapon, and you also can't use color magic. And I'm like, okay, so I can't use Okay, I can't use black magic or red magic. The one that always gets me is like white magic. That's not a color magic. That's just healing, right? And they're like, no, that's white's a color. And god damn it, and you can't even heal your own characters. Um, it's just getting to be a lot, but I'm also really enjoying the challenge. And sometimes you can even force the enemies into breaking the laws themselves and getting put to jail. So there might be a really difficult character that you're fighting. In fact, there's one specific boss fight where the whole point is that you're supposed to lock them uh, into breaking the rules, and then the judge character comes in and just like one hit KOs them of like, oh yeah, get the fuck out of here. You're breaking the laws. But if he didn't come in, you would be screwed because this guy could just murder you. There's some really cool design stuff in there. I think that's a cool game, and I'm looking forward to playing even more of it and getting it finished.
Hell yeah.
The things I've been playing more recently, though, I finished Star Ocean: The Second Story R. That's a hell of a game. I feel bad that I took a big gap from play sessions because it's not really that long of a game. I think I put a total of 30 hours into it, and a lot of that
Pretty
30,
modest by JRPG standards.
well, yeah, it's modest by JRPG standards, but also I think I put a lot of grinding that I really didn't have to put in there. My characters, I found out the max level for characters was 255,
Mhm.
and my characters were at like 150, and I would say you probably need to be like around 90 to beat the game. Uh, so
Jesus.
I
Okay,
was
so
I was
you
way
played a little bit more
overpowered,
than
and then
maybe
you
you
can
needed
get
to.
even way more overpowered, and that's for like
God.
post game stuff. There's a lot of like
Chase thought he was going to have to fight God in this JRPG. He was ready.
On God.
It's not quite God. Like maybe there's a God in like the post game part that I didn't play, but I think that game is really cool. I know my complaint from the first Star Ocean is that it teases you with all the cool space stuff, and then it just has you do like a regular medieval fantasy game for basically the entire game. And this game kind of does that for half the game, and then the second half just goes wild, and a
Jesus.
lot of really crazy stuff happens. You get to meet a lot of cool characters. I kind of want to play it again because you have the option of playing as one of two characters. They're both always in your party, but you get the perspective of one or the other, and I'd like to play the other one just to see what their perspective is on some of
Is
these
there any way
things.
that you can load up a save and
No, because you'd have to start it
got
from
it?
the very
Got
beginning
it.
with
Got it.
that
Got it.
character. But also there's so many party members you can get, but you are locked to getting 8 max. And then you can only have a party of 4, but you have 8 in your full party. Uh, but there's like 12, maybe even more than 12 characters that are actually unlockable. So to get all of them, you would have to play the game a second time with the other character, because some of them are, oh, this guy only comes if you use her, or she only comes if you use him. But then some things are also
Valentine's
just
Day was
where you
yesterday,
trigger.
Chase.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Uh, but also there are just some things where it's like if you talk to this guy before you talk to this girl, he joins your party instead. And so I really do want to try switching out and see how some of the other characters play. And I think if I played that game a second time, I could breeze through a lot of it without having to worry about grinding because I know what's kind of coming up next. I just think it has a lot of really cool features. It looks great, as I've mentioned multiple times as I've talked about it. I just think it's a hell of a JRPG, and more people should play it because it's really really quite good. This version specifically is really nice.
Hell yeah.
And then the thing I've been playing most recently, and I've been playing quite a bit of, is Granblue Fantasy Relink. So this came out the same day, or maybe the day before Persona 3 Reloaded, which is why I have not gotten to Persona 3 yet. This is a game I've been following for a really long time. I don't care about Granblue. I guess I got to put that out there first. The Granblue
Isn't Granblue more
generally,
like it's a thing, right? Like it's a whole ass thing.
it's a mobile game. Yes, it's a
Okay.
mobile franchise where
Okay. All
it's a
right.
mobile gotcha game. It's extremely popular. I have not played the gotcha game. I have a gotcha game. It's called Fire Emblem Heroes, and I don't even like playing that. So
Is this the first quote unquote real Granblue game?
no, because there were those fighting games too, the
Yes, right.
Granblue Fantasy
Okay.
Versus,
Yes. Okay.
which people really like and are really solid. Um, and feature the characters people like, but also it's not a gotcha, so it's a different kind of thing. This is, and they've also made a Granblue anime
Mm-hmm.
that I tried to watch some of that because I really like the art style of Granblue. It's got this. It's not quite pastel, but it's just a light and vibrant color scheme that just looks so nice and
It,
Wasn't
idyllic.
there a
And
fighting game in this
yeah,
universe?
yeah, Granblue Fantasy
yeah.
Versus, and then there was a
Yeah.
second one too. I forgot what they added to that
It
one.
it reminds me a bit of Tales of Arise a little
Yeah,
bit.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And this game specifically, Fantasy Relink, is a little bit more like Tales in that you are controlling a main character and then you have a party and they're kind of doing their own things in real time. So what's excited me forever about this game is that I can't remember who the developer is who's leading it, but Platinum was
Psy
helping them.
Games, CY
Side Games,
Games.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah, and they're the main developers and publishers of the mobile game as well. But they were getting help from Platinum for this game. And at one point, it was a few years ago, but Platinum, I guess, either finished their part or maybe there was a dispute or something.
Hmm.
And there was an announcement that Platinum was no longer a part of the game. But when you play this game, it's still a third person action game. And you can tell that Platinum worked on it because it feels good. It just feels so fucking good. Um,
Is it?
Basically,
It's
what happened?
action, right? Like you're not turn based. This is
Totally.
action input.
Complete action. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
Okay.
there's no even slowing down the action or.
And are you?
or
You might get to it. Are you switching between party members, or is it just you're playing one
you
character?
can, you can.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you start out by playing a character. You can pick the guy or the girl. It doesn't matter. They play
Oh,
the
so it's a
same.
JRPG.
Yeah, yeah. But unlike Star Ocean, picking the guy or the girl doesn't really change anything, and also you can change it on the fly.
Oh, okay.
They play the same. They have the same moveset. And also I think they have different names in the Granblue game. Like the guy's name is Gran. I don't know what the girl's
Is the
name
girl's
is.
name Blue?
You'd think, but I'm
Oh,
not sure on that.
okay.
I can't confirm nor can I deny that. But then what this game does is just say, fuck it, we're just gonna call you the captain all the time.
Oh, Captain, my
Or
Captain.
my buddy over here, the captain. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Can't say pals
Um,
anymore.
Um, so yes, you play as one character, but you're able to swap in any of the other characters that you want at any time, and you have a party of four. And so you have your character who's just doing their own thing, and then the other three have abilities that they can pop off, and you can tell them kind of how you want them to play as well in that similar, like, hey, I want you to go all out with offense. Hey, I want you to attack but not use all your skills, or I just want you to defend and heal. Like you can give them those same kind of strategic kind of orders.
Sure.
But you have the thing that's probably the biggest sticking point for me right now is that you have to have the main character in your party during story missions. So even if you're not playing as him or her, they have to be in the group of four. And I think that's a bummer. One, because this game has like 20 playable characters, and they all seem really fucking rad. And so to lock down one of your 4 party spaces with the main character who's got a pretty standard
Sure.
sword attack stuff, like that's kind of lame. But the other lame thing is that in any of the cutscenes that happen, they're all just there. Like the main party just shows up everywhere. So there's not really an excuse of like, oh well, you have to have the guy, because if the guy's not there, where are they going to be? It's like, no,
yeah.
Every cutscene, any of the people who aren't even in my active party just show up of like, yeah, oh yeah, we were here too. We were the whole time. It's like, so what's the point? So what you do in the game, you have kind of 2 different sections, kind of 3 different sections. You have normal kind of hub stuff that you do in a city. You can go around, you can upgrade your gear, you can talk to people. There can be some very very light open world, like it's open world is giving it too much credit, but you can kind of just walk around and talk to people and do some little missions in there. There is the main story stuff where you're going down generally pretty linear paths and just attacking all the stuff that comes at you, and you have cutscenes and story stuff that happens, which I think are all pretty well done. I think the voice acting's nice, the animations feel good, the actual fighting itself is really cool, and I think there's just some really nice set pieces and bosses that you fight that just look awesome, and have some cool strategy as you fight them. But then the game also has kind of a Monster Hunter side thing that's just like, oh hey, do you want to play online and just like
watch
do a
your
Monster
mouth,
Hunter
Chase.
thing?
Watch your mouth.
I'm not
Wish
saying it's
listed.
bad. It's just it's weird to me in that the game feels like it could just be this linear story thing and be a perfectly fine game, and you'd play it for 15 hours and call it a day and have a great time. But then they also go like, you want to just get online and co-op with some people to fight like the big bosses that you faced in some of the story stuff, or now we even have some other separate arenas and you can fight them, where you don't have to bring the main character in, which is nice. You can just have a party of 4 of whoever anybody wants to bring in. And that's pretty interesting. So you can even like grind materials that you can use to upgrade weapons and things in there, or you upgrade the skill points to upgrade all your different characters. And it just it feels like kind of a weird mishmash of like, these things kind of feel a little bolted on, but they also just feel fun to play, and they're like a nice cooldown thing of, hey, I just did a big story mission and now I just want to play 1 or 2 more little things before calling it a night, and you can just do like 1 or 2 of these short hunts. And they've got like different rankings that you can get and different bonuses that apply to those rankings. And so some of them are like, hey, beat this mission in like 5 minutes, and then there will be another thing that, okay, so you can beat it in 5 minutes and you can use thrown objects to kill like 4 enemies. And then the third one, the highest level one, is like, actually, what if you just beat this in a minute? So some of them can be really fast once you've upgraded your characters and you know what you're doing and you've got your strategy down. And that feels fun too, to go back to something that was hard at one point. Like maybe you could just beat it in about 5 minutes. And now to come back when you've leveled up your characters a little bit more and go, oh, I know how to beat this guy. I've got the perfect team for this. I've spec'd them the right way, and I can just fucking glass this guy in like 30 seconds. And you could just keep grinding that if you wanted to, and you can bring in online friends and play with those people, and everybody grinds them. I just think it's got a lot of really cool ideas. The characters are really varied. Like there's like a couple of guys
there's a bunch of different people on here that look very unique.
Yeah, I mean there's a ton of people who just use swords, but they use swords in a lot of different ways. And then you've got a couple guys who use guns. You've got like one guy who's like super speedy up close using guns, and then you have another guy who can like get into a sniper stance, and he has a musket thing, and he just can unload from pretty far distances, and he throws grenades too. The girl that I like playing, her name is Fairy. She's kind of like a rabbit girl thing, but she's got a whip, and she can
Hmm.
just use a lot of AoE attacks, and she also has like kind of a Chun-Li thing where she just holds the attack and it just keeps whipping. It just keeps like slapping that whip around, and anybody who walks into it is just getting crushed. But then she also has this side thing where she has these animal spirits that you can start summoning. It actually feels a little bit like Hyrule Warriors,
Mhm.
Age of Calamity, where
Drop
you're
the
like
frogs.
starting to get these extra bonuses that are happening. So she can get all these different animal spirit friends who are now around her. That once she gets enough of them, she can start popping her like more ultimate attacks that now bring in a bunch of those guys and do even more damage with them. Um, it's so varied and so fun. The story stuff has been okay. They've still got their dumb little dragon mascot character who I absolutely hate,
Sure.
who is kind of like the reincarnation of oh god, what's the Genshin fairy's name? That thing.
Paimon.
You know, yes, Paimon. This little dragon's called Vern, and he sucks. He sucks so much I couldn't watch the anime because he sucked so much. But the rest of the game has been an absolute blast. I didn't think I would like it as much as I have been, and it feels like every hour that I play it, there's another really cool thing that I discover, or I get another card to unlock another character, and I can bring a new character in, and it's like, oh wow, this guy's just got like a big fucking scythe, and he plays completely differently from all the other characters they had. Sure, bring him in, buddy. Where am I going to fit him? What skills am I going to outfit him with? And I'm having a really really good time.
That's
I'm seeing
awesome.
online a lot of people think this game is like it's getting kind of mixed reviews, but
I mean, it's
I
very
got
positive on Steam with almost 19,000 reviews.
okay. I've seen some kind of bad reviews for it, and I can understand where some people are coming from on that. But I'm having an absolute blast, and I'm hearing some other people say that they are really really liking it too.
Hell yeah, man. So, Chase, you talked about, you gave an update on Final Fantasy Tactics, you talked about Star Ocean Second Story R, and you talked about Granblue Fantasy Relink. And that will wrap up our games coverage. And we got some news to hop into. And, Johnny, why don't you take us through? Let's get through some of the smaller stuff and we'll end with Microsoft Sony stuff. How about that?
Well, the Microsoft stuff is the smallest stuff possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Embracer Group
Fuck 'em.
has cut almost 1,400 jobs since I think July, and they news came out today that really made me mad because there was a quote: "Our overruling principle is to always maximize shareholder value in any given situation." And I guess at least they're being honest about where their priorities lie. But it was revealed that like I think 29 games have been canceled that were in various stages of production.
Oh, yeah. It's fucking dire
Through
over there, man.
the studios that were embraced, and they're restructuring. The CEO says they're creating a strong foundation for the future. I hate these people so fucking much, and it just seems they went into this. They gobbled up all these IPs, all these studios, on the not even the promise, but the hope that they would be getting money from the Saudis. That money never came, and so now they are scrambling to keep their
Anything
head
that's
above
not
water.
bolted down over there at Embracer is basically being tossed out.
Yeah, and it's just it's so shitty.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another symptom of this industry that triple A game development is just unsustainable. At
Yeah,
least the way
like
that it is being done now.
there was a graph going around of like all the layoffs that have happened over the course of the last year,
Mhm.
and it's heavier than ever right now. It's not like the year changed over and people went, okay, well now it's a clean slate. It's still happening, and it's worse than ever, and it's huge. Like you had big layoffs from not just this Embracer stuff now, but
I mean,
EA had
Microsoft
a
just
bunch
laid
of
off a bunch
layoffs.
of people.
Microsoft had a bunch of layoffs.
It is endemic right now, and it seems like we're just in February. There's still a lot of year left, and plenty of time for more bad news like that. This story was for me, but From Software is quote working hard on Elden Ring DLC, but still doesn't have a release date at this time.
Didn't you think it was supposed to wasn't it supposed to be out in February?
I'm wondering if I just hallucinated that. I thought they said early this year, and it is still early in this year. Maybe it'll still come out before the end of the first quarter.
Still real to me, damn it.
But it's been 2 years since Elden Ring proper came out, and
you should be lucky enough to have that.
I know that's one of my
favorite. They put out a different
games.
game. Like I'm surprised that they're still thinking about Elden Ring at all. Like,
well, they made way too much money to not be thinking about Elden Ring.
They're gonna make money on any game they make because they're From Software.
But this is Elden Ring. This is
make an Elden Ring 2 then.
They probably will.
Zelda did it in a cave with spare parts.
They always put out big DLC for their games, the Soulsborne games anyway.
Yeah, where's the Armored Core DLC?
Cowards.
I don't know, but yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree, still no release date on that.
Johnny's like, can we get McDonald's? And Chase is like, we got McDonald's at home, kid. It's called Armored Core.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And finally, the two of the three big players in the console market, Sony. No franchise game releases are coming until April 2025 at earliest. So
I'm shocked that anybody would be surprised by this if they've been like Sony's literally
anyone paying attention.
Yeah. Like, they've got Wolverine coming. They've got a bunch of other shit that they've are working on, but you're not. I mean, you've got major studios underneath that name that have told you with receipts how long it takes them to put new games out.
Yeah, and also, we're still feeling the effects of COVID, right? Like,
I mean, I don't know if I would say that as much as I would say
there's still ripples, but yeah. It's kind of like the aftershock of the aftershock at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot of pressure to what you just talked about in AAA space to do it right. And there's a reason why Sony has been the outlier in AAA single player success compared to others, because they take their time and they make really great stuff.
But they have a hard time,
or they just remake that stuff.
Yeah, again and again and again.
It's probably about time to remaster Last of Us again.
The first one.
Sure.
I've been saying, bro.
Or the second one, man. Fuck it.
I think that there could be some stuff that pops up, and obviously nobody really saw Helldivers 2 being what it's become so far for them. So maybe there's more things like that they can get to. But
yeah, there definitely is, because there's more games coming out like all the time. There's so many fucking games. Even like hearing this news and being like no major releases like that. Sure, there's still going to be a billion video games that come out.
Yeah,
and
we will not
there will be good ones.
Want for content for games to play, but when you have a big first party like that, and their whole thing is like, we got the best games that you can only play here, and they got nothing for you this year.
Well, yeah, Microsoft said that too, and then
they did,
and now they're the big
and
games.
They stabbed their fans in the back.
Oh yeah, everyone's so angry.
How after today? How
it was a witch hunt.
Those freaking morons who are like, "Oh, this is it, bro."
Dude, I went ahead and I kept a list of some of these big names, and I went back today, and you should see the spin moves of them trying to say this is still the downfall. You all just can't see it. I'm speaking clearly now, seeing clearly now.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to them.
I mean, you had people trading in their Xbox series.
Like it's just that Aztec calendar shit all over again of like, oh, it wasn't that date. Well, actually, I looked at the calendar again. It should be that date instead. It's like, wow, you just keep.
What day is Zorp coming back next year?
I don't know how. Man. I mean, I know you guys are familiar with wrestling, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with the terms work and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've heard it.
A work is like something that's fake. A shoot means like, oh, that's a real beef that these wrestlers have. Most wrestling is a work. Like, yes, it's all scripted. These two actually don't hate each other. There's also this term called being worked into a shoot, which is you've been drinking the Kool-Aid so much that you think it's real. And that's what happened here, where somebody maybe took like the tiniest bit of real information that was out there and just came up with their own fucking conspiracy theory backstory and blew it completely out of proportion to the point that Xbox felt the need to say like, I guess we have to comment on this bullshit on the podcast that we would just like normally do. That would be a normal fucking thing that we do.
Yes.
But now we have to address the elephant in the room that we might be bringing some games to other platforms, even though we've already done that and we'll just continue doing that.
Yeah. So the big news today, 4 other Xbox games are coming to other consoles, but those games are not Starfield and not the Indiana Jones
or Halo or Gears of War.
Yeah.
So what they said officially was that it's 4 games. They've been on Xbox for over a year. And no, it's not.
And that was all they said.
The 2 biggest ones.
Which I'm assuming there's like agreements in place to make sure that they get announced by.
Yeah, there's calendars, there's marketing shit. Like you don't want to upset that if you don't have to. But the rumors are, and you know, people are reporting on some of this stuff, is that the first 2 games that they're going to do are smaller games, which are probably Pentiment and
Hi-Fi Rush,
Grounded. And then the 2 bigger games, Phil did kind of mention this on the podcast, is the 2 other games would be bigger and more community driven, and people are saying that's Sea of Thieves and Grounded.
I think that makes perfect sense.
All of which make perfect sense, especially for Sea of Thieves and Grounded. Like those, if you're making service games, you need a constant flow of people.
Yeah.
And the best way to get new people here is to go to a new platform or 2 and see what your net can catch. And those games will do great on PlayStation.
Yeah. Did they say that they'll have crossplay? Did they say anything on that?
They said the word crossplay and cross save a billion times.
Okay. So then I think that's great.
Yeah, totally. And for me, I think Pentiment would run great on a Nintendo Switch. I would probably get a lot further into it than I did on my PC if I had it there. Hi-Fi Rush, that's a gorgeous looking game, and people will play that wherever it's available. It makes sense to me. I don't give a shit where the good games are as long as they're on a thing I can play, and Xbox is helping me do that. So great.
I know we're getting really close to time here, but I'll say the one thing that stuck out to me was the commentary from Phil around just exclusives are basically going to start to dissipate. I mean, I think Sony, we don't have it covered in our news here, but Sony talked about their interim and acting CEOs basically saying like, we need to get multi-platform. And I don't think he's talking about Xbox, or maybe he's talking about Nintendo, but I think
look at how many games they've sold just on Steam.
Like, well, that's what I'm getting at. I think that they're going to start to go
so expensive to make.
Totally. There's nothing that degrades Sony by putting things on PC the same day. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And
and also the vice versa of Sony, like they were forced into it by MLB, but MLB The Show they were forced to put on Xbox.
That's right.
MLB, their license holder, was like, hey, we're not making enough money on this thing by having it to just your small audience, your comparatively small audience. Put it out for everybody, God damn it. And they had to do it, and it sold more, and which is fine because it's it's a great baseball game, and more people should play it.
Here's the lesson we learned from this: don't be an internet idiot obsessed with one brand, you cowards.
Yeah. The doom and gloom was so high. There was even talk about like, oh well, they're getting out of the console business completely, right? And Phil kind of shot that down. Like, no, absolutely, we're making more consoles. What are you fucking talking about? Like, they even tried to say, and I think this makes sense. Like, you have the PC that is there for people who want like a completely custom experience. There's going to be a subset of fans who absolutely want to play their games on PC. But you also have a bunch of people who just want to play Xbox games. And the easiest way to play Xbox games is buy a fucking Xbox. So, of course we're still going to make Xboxes. That is still like this baseline, foundational, easiest way to get into the ecosystem is for us to make a simple box. And people can pick that box up and buy a game and play the game on the box. So no, they're going to keep making consoles. I guess there was even maybe a hint that they might even try making a handheld console at some point. Who the fuck knows?
I can see it happening.
But yeah, like they're still gonna make videos.
Calm down, everybody. Let's just calm down out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell of an episode, you two. Let's quickly get through what we've got going on this week. If you want to follow along with what we do here, you can follow the links there in chat. This week's been a little wonky given our schedule. We're recording on a Thursday. Traditionally, it's a Wednesday. But this week, Chase and I got to play games on Monday from the Steam Next Fest. Always one of our favorite things to do. You can go back and check out that video on demand. We got one quick look up this week with Turbo Overkill. I did not get Prince of Persia up yet. I'm going to work on that tomorrow. So just given the structure and some other stuff I had going on this week, I got a little sidetracked. Tonight was 362. We are talking about all kinds of fun stuff. If you've been tuning in, you know what we've been saying. But I'll have Prince of Persia that goes up this week. And then tomorrow night, Johnny decided to not show up for streaming the week that we started to stream.
Wow.
And he's right back to his old antics. I will be live tomorrow night with Helldivers 2. So come and watch that. You two, what do you got going on?
I've got a new podcast, or a new episode of my podcast pilot program with our good friend of the show, Pierce Corshane. We're watching the first episodes of every television show ever made. This last episode was on Dairy Girls, the Irish 2018 sitcom,
cool.
Which is quite good. Go check that out, shows.acast.com/pilot program. We've announced our next one, which should be happening, I think the recording is at the end of the month. It's going to be on the 1980s action show, The A-Team. So I'm excited for that one as well. I also have Chase K Plays, my YouTube channel, and I'm still playing Pokemon Stadium, my series called Stadium Brats. A new episode went out yesterday, Wednesday. That was just me solo. And then next week is already in the can. Bobby Pease from something called The Casual Hour.
Oh.
He joined me for a bit. Not the whole time, which is totally okay. Some stuff happened. But it was still a good episode, so look forward to seeing that.
Any phone call you get from your parents after 9:00 at night is not going to be a good phone call.
Yeah, no. Definitely understand why you had to step away. But the gameplay was good. Gameplay was real good, so people should check out that episode when it drops next week.
Johnny, you write. Where do you write, and what do you got going on?
I'm still writing over at Hard Drive. I have several articles, satirical articles that went up, and I will be having my first non-satirical piece go up soon. An interview I did with a friend of ours, Carol Mertz, who is a senior designer for Exploding Kittens.
Maybe someday you'll put a fucking link together that I can post whenever you talk about this shit where people can find your writing.
Good idea.
Yes. All right, y'all. Thanks for making this work. I will be live tomorrow night. Come back and watch me shoot